none of us are on the journey alone. Like, none of us. So whether we like it or not, we're connected. You know, I'm an adult child of an alcoholic. I used to say in my head, I used to play the game if I had a different dad. And I would always look at other kids because they had a dad, the dad I wanted. I wanted that dad. And so I always begrudged my dad. There was one time when I was a young adult finally, and I'm a pastor, right? I have my own church. So I'm supposed to, quote, know this stuff. And yet I was given over to all this, what life should be. This is the if only, what the relationships I should have. And so I sat down with my dad and I told him how angry I was. You know, I really wanted to unload on him because obviously the fact that I didn't have the dad I wanted was his fault. So I didn't want to own up to anything in me. My dad didn't take it well. You know, it's one of those kind of conversations where you don't know how you're going to finish it. So I figured, oh, there you go. Okay, whatever. I'll get other relationships that are better than this one. So a year later, we're driving down the road in a pickup truck, Michigan, where I'm from. And my dad, he's just looking out the window and he says, your grandpa used to beat me pretty good. So for the first time in my life, I realized my dad was also 10 years old. That my dad was a very wounded individual. And my dad didn't know how to live out that woundedness. He didn't know what to do or who to reach out to. And he didn't know how to be the kind of, quote, dad he should have been. But I know that from that point on, when I realized that my dad probably didn't have any mercy in his life, one of the things I tell people is, yeah, you weren't lucky. However, you've been extraordinarily blessed to be able to know that you have the capacity now to be a place of mercy for people, to be a place of kindness for people, to be a place of empathy for people, and to be a place of sanctuary for people. You have that capacity. It's an extraordinary thing. It's a gift. So now with my dad, he's 86 years old, you know, I'm more blunt with him, more honest with him, but he's softer now because I realize there's a child in him who was not loved. You know, he was not lucky either. So I ask now, how can I be a place of mercy for him? It's just all about how do I take ownership, responsibility for me, for this life. In other words, I'm not a victim. I mean, yes, I had some unlucky cards dealt to me, really unlucky. But I'm not a victim of that. I have some choices now to make. And so if I'm not a victim of that, that means I can look at whatever the capacity is inside of me, because I believe that all of us have a sufficiency inside that gets covered up, it gets buried, or using a little thing we learned as children, the bushel gets over the light, you know. And we don't see the light anymore. And so part of what I want to do when I talk about, you know, living in the moment is being able to see the light. Because if I can see the light, then I can navigate those places. I don't need to make sense of the cards, the unlucky cards I was dealt. See, because I don't need to come out better because of it. I'm still whole. Even with unlucky cards, I'm still whole.